Steve Jobs and Einstein. I recently finished the biography on Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. It was perhaps the best biography I ever read. The only others I can compare with it as being interesting were ones I have read on Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, and Mao. The rise and fall of the Third Reich was also very good, but was not written as a biography on Hitler. The book I liked on Mao was called Mao: The Unknown Story by Jung Chang and John Halliday. This was good because it was a great story of a tyrant, not because Mao was a good guy. Jobs had the feeling from the time he was young that he would die early, so his whole life was a crash course to get as many things done as possible before that event happened. When it became obvious the end was near, he had the foresight to contact one of the best biographical writers and talk him into writing his story. Isaacson thus conducted interviews right up until the end, and thus had lots of first-hand material from direct interviews. Even so, the reader can tell that he did not use these interviews as a crutch, for he obviously interviewed many people associated with Jobs, as well as researching everything published about him. There are a few things on which he could have gone into greater detail, but overall he did an excellent job. The book reads with the intrigue of a Dan Brown novel. The big question that this group may have concerning Jobs is, was he an initiate and how advanced? First, he was definitely an initiate, for he never stopped initiating new things right up to the last days of his life. He initiated the desktop computer and then the mouse and Windows type operating system that was used in the Mac and copied by Microsoft. After he was fired from Apple, he did not rest but began a cutting-edge animation company, Pixar, which initiated new technology that revolutionized children's movies. In desperation, as Apple was about to go under, they wooed Jobs back to Apple. He came back and worked for $1 a year for the first couple years. The first thing he did when he came back was to trash 2/3 of the Apple models to the ash heap of history and start fresh working on new innovating models. Shortly thereafter, they came out with the iMac, which finally turned sales around. The next big leap was the iPod, which they advertised as 1,000 songs in your pocket. This was an amazing breakthrough when you consider that the competitors could only manage a handful of songs on a portable device. He didn't stop there, and soon the iPod-type gizmos could manage your photos, play movies, take pictures, record movies, and on and on. Then he realized that the life of the iPod would come to an end in a few years and be replaced by a phone with all these abilities built in. He thus switched attention in this direction and created the iPhone. Next was the iPad. When this was introduced, critics said it would never sell much because it was so expensive and netbooks was the future, but of course they were wrong. Near his death, he realized that television as we know it was coming to an end and worked on creating a home entertainment system that access all shows produced through the internet on demand and replace cable and satellite systems. Apple will yet reveal his last innovation. He was a vegetarian throughout his life and experimented with a number of diets, including the mucusless diet system. Many initiates are vegetarians, especially the first and second degree. Throughout his life, he pondered the mysteries of existence and life after death. Some of his favorite books dealt with metaphysics, such as Shunryu Suzuki, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Paramahansa Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, Chogyam Trungpa's Be Here Now, Babaram Das. He wasn't positive there was an afterlife, but hoped there was one. He represented that hope by making Apple products that had no off switch. He hoped that we as humans had no off switch when we died. He seemed to receive his answer about life after death at the point of his departure. Just before he passed, he looked beyond those gathered around him and said 3 times, "Oh wow." After this, he died. It was quite possible that he was entering his 3rd initiation experience with the Angel of the Presence. Many wonder why he got cancer when he was on a vegetarian diet. There are several reasons that could be. First, many vegetarian diets are not as healthy as a quality meat-eating diet is. He was on numerous diet programs throughout his life rather than sticking to one consistent good one. It's quite possible he had an overbalance of carbohydrates and starches. It's also possible that he received too many chemicals that were not removed from vegetables. One sign that something was wrong with his diet was that people often complained of his body odor. A proper diet should not generate that complaint. A person can get cancer even with a good diet. Grievance and suppression is a major cause here, and Steve suffered great hurt when he was fired from Apple. He seemed to have a real grievance toward John Scully, who replaced him. Then watching powerlessly as they degraded his company was too much to bear. It sounds like Steve was never able to let this and possibly other grievances go until possibly near the end of his life. These are a few comments not found in standard reviews. I would suggest you go to Amazon, read several reviews, and buy the book or audio. You will not be disappointed. How advanced was Einstein? Question: how spiritually advanced was Einstein? Was he as far as being a third-degree initiate that can see through illusion? A third-degree initiate is far from omniscient and infallible. Even the highest of initiates, masters and gods, have their limitations and do not see and understand all things. A third-degree initiate can dispel illusion provided he has the necessary facts available and focuses his attention on the subject where the illusion resides. For instance, such an initiate may have not placed much attention on global warming because many other matters occupy his mind. Consequently, he doesn't have a strong opinion one way or another. Finally, something stimulates his interest and he decides to look into it. Once he studies the available data, he then unravels the illusion surrounding the subject and hones into the truth of the matter. I would guess that Einstein was a very savvy second degree. The reason I do not peg him at third degree is that he was agnostic about God, and a third degree would have experiences that should have removed all doubt. I believe that Newton was a third degree, as he was a very spiritual scientist and spent much of his life unraveling the mysteries of the works of God. Einstein was a Jew, but not all Jews believe the same. Here was Einstein's response to some religious questions. Do you believe in God? I'm not an atheist. I don't think I can call myself a pantheist. The problem involved is too vast for our limited minds. We are in the position of a little child entering a huge library filled with books in many languages. The child knows someone must have written those books. It does not know how. It does not understand the languages in which they are written. The child dimly suspects a mysterious order in the arrangement of the books, but doesn't know what it is. That, it seems to me, is the attitude of even the most intelligent human being toward God. We see the universe marvelously arranged and obeying certain laws, but only dimly understand these laws. Is this a Jewish concept of God? I am a determinist. I do not believe in free will. Jews believe in free will. They believe that man shapes his own life. I reject that doctrine. In that respect, I am not a Jew. Is this Spinoza's God? I am fascinated by Spinoza's pantheism, but I admire even more his contribution to modern thought because he is the first philosopher to deal with the soul and body as one, and not two separate things. Do you believe in immortality? No. And one life is enough for me. The difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Albert Einstein. November 23, 2011. Copyright by J. Dewey. To search the website containing millions of words, replace the word search with the word or phrase you want to find, and place the entire line in the Google search box. Search site freeread.com. This article is DE 1791 in the archive index below. www.freeread.com/index-for-updated-archive/.